This episode is, as always, done on the insane difficulty with no death. Everything is in the description, ways to support me. I've got a Discord, Twitter, Twitch, links to directly support. There's a playlist for all of the missions. Alright folks, welcome to Act 3, Chapter 4, Hot Zone. Again, insane, no deaths. This time we've got a scout with us to make the mission a little bit easier. I've found that these crate-based explosive missions tend to go pretty well with a scout due to their ability to sprint, cloak, obviously scout directly ahead, figure out where people are. So top tip, bring a scout with you, they're pretty damn good. Another great move would be if you actually spec the scout to have nimble. Nimble allows you to pick up the case for, not free, but it refunds an action point. Makes it really comfortable and a lot easier, and it gives you some more options, which you need options when you're on insane. So I've grabbed the case and I've pushed everybody up. Reason I've grabbed the case first is obviously I don't want to be backtracking, so gotta grab that first. Now I kind of wanted to get a feeling of the mission, where people are spawning. So what I did was I pushed here after we see this little cutscene. I pushed Sid up, not fully. I only ever do like 1 to 2 point moves first, so you always have an action point to try and get yourself out of danger. So I pushed myself up for 2 points and then realised there was another tick away at the back. After some deliberation, I came up with a sequence of moves. This is quite a weird sequence of moves I came up with, but it seemed to work. I had Stotty and the scout push up. I had the scout then use sprint, which is just one big run, only one action point, and then she could kick this ticker into the wretch. Now that she's kicked the ticker into the wretch, obviously she's out in the open, but this allows Stotty to throw his grenade and chain react it onto all of them and deal with all of the threats at once. And now Sid doesn't need to use his grenade or any skills, and he can use his grenade on the ticker. Now the battlefield has been wiped and cleared, and it doesn't really matter that everyone stood out in the open because there's no enemies. So we managed to escape out of that and just push everybody up. Seemed to go pretty well. I'm not going to sit here and say it was like ideal or something, or it was the perfect way to play the mission, but I mean it seemed to work. I've tried to use scouts more often, and I've tried to use kicker tick because it has no cooldown. So utilizing sprint here, you can see just how far a scout can go in a single turn. With a sprint and a 2 point move and then an empower from Gabe, she can go from being way at the back to actually going all the way to this crate. And she could even then cloak and go another point ahead. I probably should have done that. Instead I didn't cloak and I dropped back because I didn't want to go too far ahead, and I wanted to save the cloak in case things got messy. With the remainder of the characters, I just sort of pushed them up, picked up the crate and took them in cover. I didn't use any skills or anything like that, just moved them up. So now that we've actually got an extraction point, we can see where we want to go, see where we need to head to. And there's going to be a few drop ships here, dropping off a few enemies. I see a couple of snipers, I see some tickers. And obviously, with these missions, you don't have time to get pinned by a sniper. You don't want to get pinned, you don't have to backtrack. So it's always about staying far ahead of the red zone and making big moves. So with Stotty, I decided to kick this ticker into the other one. And then, because they're then next to each other, similarly to what we did in the first place, I throw this grenade on the first one, which then explodes the second. Now Stotty is out in the open, so my mission here is to protect Stotty. So I figured I'm going to push Gabe right up here, and I'm going to deal with it in this way. So I'm going to kill one of the snipers, or the hammerbursters, with a grenade. But we've still got 2 snipers to deal with, and after quite a long time deliberating what to do, I decided I would push the scout up, and I would throw a proximity grenade on top of them. Now I wasn't sure this was not going to kill him, but I was hoping it would just simply maybe stop them killing me. Pushing Sid up as well to cover the angle. That's all I could think of. It took about 20 minutes of deliberation. That's the move I came up with. They did get hit by the grenade. They didn't kill me, but they did pin me. But that's okay, because I'm still in the game, I'm still alive. But obviously I want to get out of this situation. And you can't move, you know, if you're pinned, you're done. So they pinned the scout. They didn't actually pin Stotty. This allowed me to throw a grenade. I think if Stotty had got pinned, I might have been in trouble there, because he would have been unable to throw the grenade as it had triggered the pin. Luckily, we got out of there, and I've pushed everybody up into a line. Another useful tool to break a sniper pin, if you're looking for some more tips, is you can use the scout to cloak an enemy, an ally unit. Speaking of the scout, we're going to push her right up there, and again, do one of these sort of big moves. The reason I do these big pushes with the scouts, so I empower her to get 2 extra action points. I use one of them, and then I use cloak to move another point. The reason I do these is obviously it gives me much more information where people are coming from, what angles are safe, and it obviously gives me more time to play around with, because I'm not directly on the red zone that one-shots me. It's just about putting distance between yourself and the red zone and surviving, really. It sounds obvious, but do try to remember that. You know, in a hypothetical situation, if you're miles ahead of the red zone and there's a load of enemies behind you, it doesn't even matter. They'll die to the red zone. You won't. So, you know, you can think about it that way.
Now it's our turn.
This was where it took about another 20 minutes of thinking. I just couldn't think of the move to get myself out of this situation. I eventually went for a proximity grenade on top of this Cantus, hoping that then he wouldn't, you know, do some sort of long push on me, crit me. And then whilst I was cloaked, I decided to recloak so I would remain cloaked, and then use that point just to tuck myself in this little bit of cover, because there really isn't much cover. I've got Gabe, Sid and Stotty pushed up on this bit of cover, and I'm thinking about overwatching, but I decided just to keep my head down. The Cantus does get knocked back, and he's quite a far distance away from me, so I don't think he's going to push me or anything like that. I'm feeling pretty okay at the moment. However, one does push far up and overwatch both of us. He could have killed us both there. This is just the name of the game with tactics. Sometimes that guy might slide up and shoot you. Sometimes he'll overwatch. It's a bit of luck. It's a bit of weighing up the odds. Now, because I've done this big push, I'm actually behind him and I'm able to disable shot him. This is then going to free up Gabe to move. And I'm looking if I could escape with the scout, and I couldn't. So the scout's kind of pinned in this hole, so I've got a few things on my mind. I need to protect the scout, and I need to get everybody out of the red zone. So the first step was chainsawing with Gabe. That gives me an extra action point. The second maneuver is to get the grenadier, the heavy, out of the way, tuck him to the right-hand side, and have a look for a grenade. You could see I could kill both of them, and I didn't know which one to pick. So I figured I'd pick the Cantus, because he's probably the main threat. He can make people more defensive, he makes the fights more awkward, so I picked off him. Eventually I realised I could actually hop over the front of this ledge, and then I could bayonet charge. I was really struggling of what moves to do, because if I was out in the open like this, I was done. So I had to figure out a way to do it in one turn. So that gives me an extra action point, which is then going to free Sid up to use that extra action point to grenade this hammer burst. I checked up the options of who was the most accurate, and I decided it was the pistoler. 97%, and managed to clean him up. And again, similar to earlier on, I'm not in the most safe spots, but everybody's dead. So, you know, there's no enemies here, so we're safe to pick up this crate and just overwatch and protect some random areas in case something appears. That was my thinking. So this was really an awkward situation. Nobody could get in the circle. Gabe, Sid, the scout all could. However, if I was to empower Stotty to give him enough range to get into the circle, I would only have 2 points on Gabe, and 2 points wasn't enough to get me in the circle. I was pixels away. Unfortunately, I just had to push up and just sort of overwatch again random areas and pray I didn't die to some random dropship or something, because you never know what's going to spawn on these missions. Luckily, nothing seems to be spawning. and we're safe to get into the next zone. So thanks for tuning in. I'll leave you with the cutscene because it's a good cutscene. Gives you a bit of story, and I'll show you the case has been opened at the end. But this was the mission. Hopefully you like that. Leave a like, leave a comment, ring the bell, subscribe. Like, barely anybody subscribed to the channel that watches, so do subscribe, do ring the bell. Enjoy the cutscene. We'll see you in the next one.
These super grubs are bad news. If Ukon builds thousands of them, marches on Afira?
Easy to fix, Diaz. Want to stop an army of assholes, just blow up the asshole factory.
It's done. You're welcome.
All that's left now is to find out where Ukon's hiding.
Listen. What I did before. Well, it was a bad call. I just wanted payback. For all the shit the cogs made me do. I put you all in danger. I'm just trying to make that right.